Hello, my name is Alexander Morari, and I'm the founder of ITKeyMedia. As you know, this is a podcast about Central and Eastern European startups in pre-Series A stage. Our guest today is Jan Vecerka, the founder of BrikkApp. And when I was trying to define the project, the best I came up with was that BrikkApp is developing the marketplace of real estate crowdfunding platforms. Hello, Jan. Do you agree with this definition?
Uh, yes, mostly yes. What we built is a solution for everyone to invest easily online into properties based on real estate crowdfunding. And currently in Europe, there are more than 150 real estate crowdfunding platforms. And our goal is to bring all the information to one single place, that through one single dashboard, our user can see what investment platforms are out there, what investment opportunities do they offer to make an educated decision where to invest.
Yeah. So with this, we almost dived already into first round of our podcast, the solution, the project. But before we do this, if I understand you know real estate market pretty well and financing and structured finance and so on, would you say that in Central Eastern European markets, at least, your platform, or I mean, real estate crowdfunding platforms are a civilizational kind of leap forward, and they are a big danger of REITs, real estate investment trust in the region, which is not popular, which is not prepared by the legislators for some reason. I don't know why. And so that this region will make this jump over REITs into crowdfunding space right away.
I mean, it's a different approach in investing. If we compare real estate crowdfunding to a traditional REIT, and I mean, it's different country to country. There are certain countries in our region where real estate crowdfunding is pretty popular and pretty developed, especially the Baltic region. And there are countries where it is much less. And my opinion on that is as well that we have the traditional REITs in some of these countries, and it's maybe a bit for a different audience. Traditional REIT is, you have your financial advisor and which recommends you to invest here or there. The audience for real estate crowdfunding is a bit different. It's more for the internet generation, for maybe a bit younger people to invest in this way. And what was really good here is that investors can invest usually from really small amounts and invest regularly.
My meaning exactly. REITs are not that popular, and they are losing ground by not catching up or not even appearing here like with a strong kind of message in these markets. And it's much easier now to invest through crowdfunding than through REITs, which are not present here, basically. Let's move on to your solution. How would you describe yourself, your platform right now, and what's the current status of development?
So we have started like 1.5 years ago with as every startup, we've used our money to build an MVP to, get onboarding first members of the team, to, starting collecting some data, building the first partnerships. Later, we've received an investment which has helped us a lot, an seed investment which allowed us to expand our team. So we've started BrikkApp 1.5 years ago, and we bootstrapped the first development from our own resources, and later we've received an investment which basically helped us a lot to accelerate our product and accelerate our development, to expand our team. And since then, we've established many partnerships with many real estate crowdfunding platforms, as well as we work a lot on our content, which we publish at BrikkApp. We create or compile regional reports. We've already published a report on UK real estate crowdfunding, Spanish, French, Northern Europe. Currently, we have in pipeline Germany and other regions, which is very useful for our users. What is the current big step which is ahead of us is to receive a license from our local regulator to offer financial services, which without that we cannot legally offer financial services. So that's another big step and our current most important task to finalize this process.
So you say that as far as European platforms, they are have been already aggregated on the platform, and you are done with that, right? This is what you're saying.
Yes, we have collected a lot of data about this market. We already have profiles and data about all the major or almost every real estate crowdfunding platform which is in Europe.
Yeah, and these data, these profiles, are they in cooperation with those platforms? So this is just your initiative, or do you have already kind of formalized relationships with those platforms? What's the current approach?
We try to onboard as many as possible of them. So we've created a dashboard for them where they can update their data. We've created an API and so on. But for some platforms where we have not been able to create a relationship yet, we just created a basic profile of them that our users can see what platforms are out there.
Yeah, just for the informational purposes, I understand, right? Rather than investing through the platform. For now. And by the way, who are the most difficult, what platforms are the most difficult to get relationships with? From specific markets or with specific size? Like they don't want to give you the credibility and not to share their own market position, with you and so on. You know what I mean? Like crowd estate or similar big crowdfunding platforms might be interested. I don't know why, you will explain, or they might not be interested to cooperate with you at all. Who are the most challenging ones?
I mean, it's a very different platform to platform, and some of them are very open to share their data because they see it's valuable for their users, and they just want to bring the overview to the market basically, and they just because they really try to bring good investment opportunities and they want to build trust, and therefore they are open, and as well as it's as well connected with our capacity of our team to onboard these platforms. Currently, we communicate with many of them. We have now established some partnerships in the UK. We have really good partnerships in the, for example, in the Baltic region.
Yeah, and I understand the focus for now will be on European Union and UK, you mentioned, right?
Definitely. I would call it like European Economic Area.
Yeah, okay, interesting. So aggregation has been done already. Then as far as active trading through your platform, this depends on the financial license or license for financial services. These financial services will give you the rights for to provide financial services, I mean, in a specific market or in the whole economic area, as you mentioned? Or is it cross-border or only for Czech, right? Because you come from Czech.
It is general, basically. With this license, we can publish investment opportunities on our platform, and we can onboard investors under the condition we do the proper KYC, basically. So if we know our customer, we can provide them financial services.
Yeah, and just to make sure everybody follows, I understand your typical investor would be in a B2C environment, and that's a private person, right?
Yeah, we focus on individual private investors.
Yeah, qualified somehow, or like any retail investor?
It as well depends platform to platform, because some of them have higher barriers of entry.
Mhm.
But in general, as as there are no barriers to invest in most of these platforms, which you can start investing from 100 euros. It's purely retail investing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. And so guide me through the whole like situation that you have right now. So you aggregated platforms focused on real estate crowdfunding. Great. You want your users to have a one shop stop. I understand, to many crowdfunding platforms. Yes.
Mhm.
And then in this formula, what's your pricing model first and foremost, and when do you plan to start actually trading through the platform?
Uh, so I first of start with when we want to, or when we do plan to start the actual trading as soon as we get a license, basically.
Yeah. And
Which,
what's the deadline you give yourself? I mean, what's your most hopeful kind of deadline?
yeah, I would not call it deadline, but we hope,
Yeah.
uh, because these processes are out of our control. Of course, we try our best to provide everything we should, but sometimes it takes more time, and these processes are not as flexible as we would love to. Uh, but currently, the timeline is that in like 2 or 3 months we'll be there to
Yeah. Okay.
offer
Okay.
services. So that's our current timeline. From the technical perspective, the product is ready for that, but
Okay.
we need to wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What's your earning model, and what's the approach you have in your mind now?
Mm, there are a couple of streams, revenue streams. Uh, Basically, the most important one is the commission-based model, based on like I would call it affiliate fees or fees which we receive uh, from the cooperation with the respective platforms that we bring them
Mm-hmm.
investments
And who
and
pays the commission? The
make the
platforms
fundraising
or
easier.
the investors? Yes. Okay. Okay. So you are
The
providing
respective
them a
platform.
distribution channel, basically, right? And additional to their, yeah,
Basically a distribution channel, as well as another level of trust, basically, because you know we really want to bring only good opportunities to our platform and to cooperate
yes, that's
with
very important
those
as well
platforms which
for
have
any
really
future,
good business
users,
model.
investors, or your business partners. What are the criteria for qualifying positively, let's say, those platforms? What's most important for you?
Uh, it is a long list what we what we are looking for, but the most basic criteria we can define like in two categories. First is the platform and its history, and what was the history of their previous investments, which is like a good clue how the team is experienced, what is the risk profile of their investment opportunities. And secondly, of course, we are looking at every specific
Oh,
investment
wait, that's
opportunity.
interesting. So, crowdfunding platform X is trying to prove that they've done the due diligence on a project, and this is a valid opportunity, and so on and so on. Okay, and then you invite them to your platform, I understand, and then you do a second level, right, due diligence on this project. And if this project is based somewhere in, let's say, Madrid, Spain, how would you go and check the not only credibility but also like financial fundamentals and investment fundamentals of this project in the future? What's the idea? Mm-hmm.
So first of all, the level of the credibility, or it's the of course the responsibility of the respective platforms that they do the due
Yeah,
diligence.
yeah.
Or, but On the other hand, we have our own criteria what the investment opportunity needs to meet. And first of all, we are looking for criteria like LTV, to the more, let's say, soft criteria, which are as important as well, like location and so on.
Okay. But you rely on the information from these platforms rather than go, as far as making your own due diligence of this project, which practical will be impossible because you need to get then the same level of access as the original platform, right? So you do base your analysis on the information provided, let's say, publicly by the platform you work with, right?
Mm, Actually, we have a data model which from
Okay.
which we get the information and which we trust and which provides us uh, our point of view on the investment opportunity.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. And I'm looking forward to have a look at one of those analysis and reports by you. That would be
Yeah,
really
I just
interesting.
would like to welcome you to register to BrikkApp, and in the dashboard you can see all the reports we have created.
Already available. Okay, we'll have a look. Thanks. Look, we are now recording this mid-February 2021. For the whole year, you think what will be the most active real estate asset class on crowdfunding platforms in Europe?
Uh, the situation now is, of course, influenced with the COVID crisis and these uncertainties which it brings to the real estate market. But on the other hand, and based on the talks and communication I have with platforms, um, most of them are very positive about the next development. And from our data, the most uh, popular or investments are in the residential market. It's like a 60 to 70% of the investment opportunities based on the region.
Okay, so residential is the king of the hill for this year, you say? Yeah, interesting. Jan, let's move on to second round and the competitors and competitive landscape, so to say. So definitely, crowdfunding platforms themselves are not your competitors; they are your partners, right? And who would you say are your biggest European competitors at this moment, and how do you plan to beat them?
So there are a couple of, you can start from like platforms which aggregate peer-to-peer lending loans. There are a couple of them, so that's one category of platforms which we can call our competitors. And as well as there are some projects which some of the local level, some more on the international level, uh, focus on aggregation of the real estate crowdfunding market.
Yes, and which ones are the biggest competitor to you? You think, or the biggest, the biggest competitor basically that you are benchmarking your business against, or like you have as your sparring partner, even from a distance. Like I could give you an example. What do you think about brick funding? Are they your brick funding? Are they your competitors? You would say.
I mean, of course, for example, brick funding is a project which we might call our
Yeah.
competitor. Their approach is a bit different. They have their platform where you can find some data about the real estate crowdfunding market, as well as uh, they try to aggregate some investment opportunities. But our approach is to go more in the way of content and the user experience and the total and the data which we provide to our users.
Mhm. Yeah, and that will be easy, of course, the more you have platforms on board, the more data you have with time. Yeah, interesting. Jan, let's move on to round three, companies' ups and downs, successes and failures in the last 12 months or so. What's the biggest failure?
Mm, I mean, as the technical side of BrikkApp is crucial to how quickly we can deliver new features and build a product. So I would say that some of the things we did in the development, that we maybe focused too much on some features and not to the others. Of course, at a certain point, we thought, okay, this is the most efficient way to develop at that point. But from maybe the current perspective, the path would be a bit different.
Okay. Can you squeeze a piece of advice out of these, let's say, mistakes that you mentioned for other startups? What would you have changed now?
I mean, there is maybe one more important uh, thing is, as a startup, there are like many, I would call them startup advisors who mm, try to advise in many or mentors we can call them. They are part of many startup programs, and I call them like these general startup advisors who try to advise a fintech company on one side, or uh, I would, or any other solution, maybe an e-commerce solution, and they use the same metrics and same approach for everything. And as we are in like a, I can still call a niche market, uh, sometimes those advisors don't know uh, about our market, and it's very time consuming to explain to a mentor what we do if they don't know anything about our market. And
Yeah.
then their advices are sometimes not helping us at all. So uh, if I can recommend something to a startup, so if you cooperate with a mentor, choose it really wisely.
How?
uh, the number one criteria should be the previous experience of the mentor. If they are experts in the market where your product
Yeah.
is.
Okay. And you mean on the tech side, on the startup side, or just merit-based professional experience? So for you, this could be, I don't know, an advisor coming from structured finance department in a like large local or regional or European or global bank. I understand, right? And just to explain, structured finance covers also real estate financing, right?
I mean, that could be a relevant experience if that person would be listening and trying to, understand the market. But I'm now talking more about like the some of the, for example, I would say very general, I would say startup advisors, which have these very general clues, like you can. I was on a call with a mentor. It was about CRM systems, and his advice was, okay, yeah, you can set it up in HubSpot. That's amazing. But how? Or in Facebook Business Manager, yeah, there are these settings. You can set up those goals. Okay, and can you help me how? And if they don't want to really work with you, it's just maybe a nice conversation, but it doesn't bring you forward.
Interesting. And now you bring up a very interesting topic, basically, that there is a whole, you could say, industry of mentorship, kind of industry, right? When
Yeah.
you serve just as a one line in a mentor CV, you know what I mean? Rather than they want
Yeah.
to actually, bring parts of their heart and brain to your startups. Interesting. Wow, interesting.
And of course, on the other hand, if you find a good mentor, of course, it's a great luck, because if you find a person who really
Mhm.
understands your market and understands your company and understands your goal, of course, it can accelerate your growth
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
rapidly.
Let's hang on here. How would you verify a mentor? So imagine you are what you are a, you are recommended a mentor, or a mentor is recommended to you by some, I don't know, you know, um, yeah, startup like
Startup.
organization or something.
Or,
And how do you go and verify? I mean, first of all, sometimes you cannot say no to such a person, but let's say you have the right? And how do you go and verify such a person? Would you go to onto the market and then check the references, or how else? Or you maybe you would just make a
I think
test, like merit-based
uh,
test, whether or not this person understands your niche and your market. How would you do that now?
I mean, where I start is, of course, I do the basic check. I check their LinkedIn profile. I check what is their past experience, and the next step is, to have a call with the mentor and in my experience, as I've already interviewed many people, and even in my past career, in my past corporate career, I did many interviews. It's it's a feeling of the person, and that's what decides. Can you imagine to work with that person or not? And that's what I'm asking
Yeah,
as
to
one of the
rely on
first
your
questions.
intuition is not very like a reliable way, I would say. It's like to rely on your eyes to see all this, the whole spectrum of possible, rays and light shapes and forms. We can see the visible light, but we cannot see the X-rays, the ultraviolet, infrared and stuff. Yeah, interesting. Let's move on. We digressed a little bit, but I think this could be useful basically for other fellow startup guys. What about the biggest success then in the last 12 years or so? 12 months, sorry, of course, 12 months.
Definitely with that, we've been able to uh, build a product to the stage it can onboard new users. uh, we are constantly getting new users, new signups, and that's the biggest success.
And speaking, by the way, of the users, how many users do you have right now? I mean, the
uh,
ones that signed up.
yeah as we don't have the actual investments yet, so we can talk about some signups. So it's a couple of thousand of signups.
Interesting. And you've made your analysis. What countries they come from mostly?
So as we are from the Czech Republic, we have a pool of users which are from our country. That's because it's
Of
easier
course.
to
Yeah,
have
of course. Of
natural
course. Yeah,
channels to market our solution
of course.
here. And then we have many users from the UK,
Ah, okay.
and then there are like Germany, the Northern Europe region. That's what I could call the core core part of our user
So moving on
base.
to round four, the company. You mentioned already that you managed to build a strong team. Let me just make a quick intro. The company was founded in 2018, I understand. And as far as the founding team, there are three people right now: the founder and CEO, yourself, Jan Vecerka, right? Jana Vecerkova. Okay, sorry. Jana Vecerkova, founder and CPO. You'll explain what this means. And then Jan Polak, founder and CTO, right? Technical. Now, I'm always interested in the labor division in the founding team. How did you divide the labor, and what are your key areas?
Of course, as a small team, there are like overlaps in what we do, and it's not like a role in a corporate where you have like a specific job description. Of course, no. Uh, but the main division is that, of course, our CTO is responsible for the technical development. That's clear. CPO, Jana, uh, it's mostly the chief product officer, so the product, the UX design part of it. And I'm responsible for first, there's the organizational role, and as well as I overall the development, and as well as partly business development, which we share with the others as well.
Yes. Okay. Great. And how many people you are now in the team?
Yeah, so now we are, it bit varies, but we are around 10 people.
Full-time employees, you mean?
Yeah, full-time employees are 7, and there are
Okay.
some part-time employees.
And by the way, are you hiring right now? Do you have any needs on the talent side?
So at our current stage, we are happy with the team we have. We have a beside the technical team, we have a marketing manager who is from the US. We have a, a data analyst. He's American as well. Um, we have a French designer, and uh, so that's the core team. And so currently we are looking for a programmer. That's the position we have open now.
Yes. Okay. Great. Jan, let's move on to final round, round 5, and we call this, as you know, probably Formula F3, funding for the future. And before we cover the future funding, let's say, vector, let me just cover what's been done by now. And I understand by now you have been funded externally as well. You closed the seed round February last year. And the total funding is around 500,000 euros. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, the investment comes in a couple of installments and based on the goals which we finished. So yeah, but the total amount is 500,000.
Yes,
Or
great.
around
And now,
500,000.
from where we are right now, February 2021, what is your, needs or plans for the next investment round?
We have covered our funding needs for this year, so that's fine for us. And we'll be needing possibly next investment in the second quarter, around second quarter of 2022.
As far as future investors of for the future rounds, who would be your kind of ideal profiles for the venture capital investors, if you have any? Would be, I mean, what I mean is like more of a like fintech minded or prop tech people, or like purely marketplace
I mean, what
investors. Yeah.
would be the next phase of BrikkApp? We want to build is a trading network of where realistic crowdfunding partners can naturally cooperate together, and for that, it is definitely fintech area. So
Okay.
that's the area we would be looking for an investor, and in the next round, how we see it now, of course, uh, it should be some institutional investor for the next round.
Like who?
I mean, I don't want to say a specific name, of course, at the current stage.
Jan, what is your most ambitious goal for 12 months ahead?
So first of all, is the license we've already discussed, which we need. It's crucial for our next product development, uh, which is connected with a payment solution and everything to have in our product that we can really facilitate investments. And then the next step would be to build the real marketplace where platforms can cooperate together. That's our like ultimate goal, what we want, what we are building.
Yeah, okay, great. So good luck with this, let's say, midterm goal. And of course, good luck with achieving all the long-term goals that you have in your mind. And we'll check up on you in a year or so, definitely. All the best.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex.
So we hosted today BrikkApp, and Jan Vecerka, the CEO, co-founder, was representing the company. What a wise idea in times when real estate crowdfunding platforms are more and more crowded, and the space is more and more crowded, they come up with an idea to be a marketplace for those marketplaces, and they call themselves as a booking.com, basically, for selecting your ideal property investment for retail investors. Wish them all the best, and that's it for now, but there's more to come. Bye bye.